Have you ever wondered what it would be like to go to a school in another country? As interesting as it may seem, you might find that going to school in another country is very different. One in particular is the German education system. In my speech, I'm going to talk about the differences and similarities between the German education system and the American education system, and go over the history of the German education system. But first, I'm going to give a brief overview of the German education system and structures. There are 3 levels to the German education system. The first level is kindergarten. Children can enter kindergarten from ages 3 to 6. Kindergarten is not required. It is a voluntary choice whether or not to have a child go to kindergarten. The next level of the system is where students begin their primary schooling. The second level of the educational system is called Grundschule. Children enter their first year of Grundschule at the age of 6. They then attend Grundschule for 4 years. But according to ukgermanconnection.org, if you live in Berlin or Brandenburg, you have to spend 6 years in Grundschule instead of 4. After they complete Grundschule, they can then apply for one of 4 secondary schools. The 4 schools in the secondary level of the educational system are Hauptschule, Realschule, Gymnasium, and Gesamtschule. The primary responsibility of Hauptschule is to prepare students for entry straight into the job force. Students are in Hauptschule for 5 years. Once they have obtained their Hauptschulabschluss at the age of 15 or 16, they can then do one of 3 things: go into vocational training, start an entry-level job, or attend a Berufsfachschule, which is a full-time vocational school. The primary responsibility of the Realschule is to provide a broad education. Students study at a Realschule for 6 years. After students obtain their Realschulabschluss, they have several options. They can either obtain an in-company vocational training, work for an entry-level or executive-level job, or further their education. Gymnasium is the longest school. Students study for about 9 years. After those 9 years, they can then take their final examination called the Abitur. The gymnasium is designed to prepare students for going into a university or other college. Lastly, Gesamtschule combines elements for all 4 other schools. Students usually spend about 6 years in Gesamtschule and are either obtain a Hauptschulabschluss or a Realschulabschluss. If they wish to get the Abitur, they spend an additional 3 years in Gesamtschule. As I have explained the 3 levels of the German education system, you might have noticed some similarities to the American education system. There are many differences and similarities between the American education system and the German education system. One thing that is different is kindergarten. In America, kindergarten is a required part of the education system. Also in America, kindergarten is free, whereas in Germany, you have to pay for kindergarten because it is voluntary. One big similarity is that education in Germany is free until they get into college, just like in America. One of the major differences between Germany and America is that German students have 4 different schools to choose from at the end of near the end of their education, whereas in America there's only one path that you can choose from. Germany's education system may seem organized and structured now, but there was a point in time where the German education system was not so organized. After World War II, not only was Germany's infrastructure and economy left in ruins, the education system was left in complete disarray. Many of Germany's schools and universities were destroyed during the war. Also, Germany had lost a lot of its teaching talent, as some 1,700 Jewish scholars were sent to concentration camps. Germany had to also reform the entire education system. According to webwn.edu, it wasn't until 1955 when Germany passed the Dusseldorf Agreement, which formed the current education system known today. Now that I have talked about the German education system, let's sum things up. In this speech, I have talked about the structure of the German education system, its different levels of education, and the different schools at the secondary level. I hope that from this speech, you not only gain a better understanding of the German education system, but also think of how different education systems and teaching styles are around the world.